We really need to figure out if this sound actually plays or not.
It does
I
play.
whisper now. I whisper now.
It does play.
That is
Apparently.
fun. We should actually have a conversation during that intro and pretend like we don't know that it's a hot mic.
Sometimes when you play the video, I think it depends if the video has sound or not.
Okay.
This intro video doesn't have sound, so hence we are also unmuted. But if you play a video with sound, you go mute. So it does play sound. That's pretty good. Okay. Speaking of pretty good, hello and welcome to another edition of not Bean Streaming. What is this? Dev Beard Ops with Kobus and myself. My name is Darko, and that's Kobus. We look alike. We wear fun shirts, I guess. We are bald and bearded, and we get to talk about DevOps and all things AWS and cloud related. So if this is the first time you're joining this stream, this is where we get a chance to talk about technology, the cloud, AWS, DevOps, and just kind of in a relaxed tone and little bits and pieces out there. We welcome all.
It's not too relaxed. As you can see, we're wearing our formal corporate wear today, and that should set the tone for our discussions.
Yes, and and I in the northern hemisphere, I'm using this thing to kind of invite the summer because it's June 1st, June 2nd, and we still don't have summer. So I'm trying to invite summer to join us as well. And yeah, we welcome
our summer.
You're getting winter started, right?
Well, winter. It's 20 degrees Celsius and sunny today. It's supposed to be winter.
The same here. It's 20 degrees and not sunny, but yeah, it's not summer. It should be summer, but it's not summer. So yeah, but feel free to be part of the stream. Join us in the chat to us. Let us know. And today's topic is, well, the thing you see below us. We're going to talk about some containers on AWS. In general, we're going to talk about Copilot and AWS App Runner as one of the 17 ways you can run containers on AWS. And yeah, so today's discussion is going to be about containers in general, so feel free to drop in and chat and all of those kind of things. Before we get started, do let us know, is the audio okay? Are we relatively equal on sound level? So just drop a message in the chat so we can see that you're here and that our audio plays good as well.
Yes,
and not just when Kobus has to talk through the video, not just when Kobus talks through a hot mic.
Yes, that is always fun. Sorry, I just realized I just want to make sure that we aren't broadcasting over the official AWS schedule. I forgot to check today. We had a fun one, I think last week or the week before. No, we do not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should be fine. Yeah, I've actually checked out. We are all good. So last week, and this is kind of a point that ZB_C says, it's been a while since we streamed. Actually, we skipped last week, unfortunately, due to the fact that there were some scheduling issues. So we planned like EFS and Lambdas and all the things we're going to talk about, and boo. So we had to skip the stream last moment, which is pretty unfortunate. But we are here right now. We get to chat with you. We get to talk about all the fun things happening. So yeah, good morning, A. Santos. Welcome back. Welcome back. We have some recurring people here, and welcome.
Yes.
So for all the new folks here, let us introduce ourselves first. Kobus, tell us who you are. The wrong side.
Camera mirrors. It confuses the crap out of me. My name is Kobus Bernard, and as Darko, I am a developer advocate with AWS. Okay, I can make mine a little bit louder. Give me a moment here. Just fighting with my little hamster over here.
Yeah.
And I am based out of Cape Town in South Africa. Sorry, half a cough coming out. I'm still slightly sick, which is one of the reasons we didn't stream for a few weeks. Darko had something, then I had something.
Yeah, exactly. It's sixth season. But yes, my name is Darko. I'm a developer advocate, same as my bald compatriot here, but I'm based out of Berlin, Germany. I've been working for AWS for the last 5 years. I'm currently in my mom's house in Serbia on vacation. It's not vacation, it's semi-working vacation thing. So yeah, and we get to yell at the camera from here.
Yes.
So yeah, If you have never been in this stream, as I said before in the start, this stream is quite relaxed. We get to talk about AWS, cloud, DevOps, and all the fun things in a very chit-chatty, relaxed manner. We may show you some code. We may show you some demos. Who knows, right? But yes, feel free to post your questions in the chat for us. We're happy to help answer you those questions. And we have Ricardo here. Ricardo is our fellow DA from the open source team. Good morning, Nicholas from Toronto, and Varad is confirming our audio is good. Yeah, a reel-to-reel background. Yes, this is one I got recently, and it works. I got it for like 20 euros-ish, and it works. It's an old Czechoslovakian model of a reel-to-reel tape player. Now I need to figure out how to get it to Germany. But yes, fun times.
Awesome.
So, Kobus,
what are we doing?
What are we doing today? Containers, right? We're supposed to talk about containers.
Blah, 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 container, blah, 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 container, I think is the title. No, more specifically, we are talking about Copilot and App Runner. Copilot has been out for a while. App Runner is fairly new. And I think just to set the scene here, to explain to people why these extra tools exist, and also sometimes you'll see people saying like, well, there are 5 million ways to do things on AWS. Well, that's kind of the point. We provide Lego blocks. And we're going to stick with the whole Lego, way of explaining things today. And as with Lego, if you just get a whole case full of blocks, you can build anything you want. But sometimes you want to build something very specific with, let's say, a guide. And apologies if my son is starting to go very robotic. My dog is going crazy in the background. I do not know why. And it's much easier if you want to build something with, let's say, a diagram to follow step A, B, C, and D in an opinionated way, which is exactly what these two tools do. They take these different Lego blocks and put them together in a nice solution for you, specifically for containers and getting things up and running.
I think there was a joke on Twitter as App Runner was released. There's 17 ways to run containers on AWS. And, we can get into the discussions of is that good or bad, and it can go both ways. I agree. There's a lot of options, and then you don't know what to choose. But after some digging and after some, kind of looking into what you exactly need, if you are presented with a variety of options to do things, it's your choice ultimately. So we don't force you to do things in a single way. Hence, today we're talking about 2 alternate ways to do specific things regarding containers on AWS. Now, I don't know squat about Copilot. Kobus is going to teach me about Copilot. I know it's a way to deploy containers. It uses an existing service. It uses ECS, right?
Yeah, it uses ECS under the hood.
So it's an alternate way to deploy containers to ECS. Yes. An App Runner is an alternate way to deploy containers. Actually, it's an alternate platform to run containers on AWS. So we're going to be talking about those things. We may even show you something. I prepared a small, very simple demo, of course, nothing too complex on Dev Beard Ops. Copilot is open source, which is wonderful. As Ricardo is pointing out here, let me bring that up on screen. It's open source, so if you want to see the CLI, it's open source. You can add changes to it. You can modify it. You can do all of the fun things you can do with open source software. So pull requests are welcome, I guess. But feel free to open up issues on that things. Okay. So before we kick off with anything else, as I said, feel free to put the questions in the chat. Anything regarding cloud, containers, DevOps, whatever, why are we bald or whatnot, please feel free to put the things in the chat. We're happy to help and answer. This is not a webinar, so we would love to hear more from you. And without further ado, Kobus, tell us what Copilot is and why should we care?
Yes. Okay. So Copilot is basically a command line utility that allows you to easily provision a container orchestration cluster using Amazon ECS, and then effectively helps you set up various things like the CI/CD pipeline for your container, deploying it, creating the VPC if you want. Actually, I don't know if it creates the VPC. Let's pretend it does, or if it doesn't. It's at this point that should be something that's not too rough. And then also what it then does is everything through a nice intuitive CLI that asks you questions, and then you give it the values, and then at the end, voila, your thing is up and running. So I think what we can do is we can actually dive straight into demo, because what I did is I just set up a Cloud9 environment. Just give me a second quickly to share the screen.
But wait, so this is technically just the command line interface to do deployments, right? Well, actually, to deploy a complete container-based application. Awesome. By the way, for those of you who do not know, I'm a fan of command lines. I love that. I think a lot of things can and should be done through the command line. And somebody wrote on Slack today, command is the OG dark mode. So yes, if you need a dark mode for your web console, the command line is the dark mode. So good.
Yes.
I think
I need to get into preferences again. Yeah.
Yeah. Control.
I always forget this before. Control editor. The plus thing doesn't work always. It's remember my Windows machine goes wonky when I do that. Give me 2 seconds to figure out where that is. I want to say terminal somewhere.
I think it's user settings. User settings. Go down. Scroll down.
Down.
User settings.
There we go.
There you go. And if you
user
scroll
interface,
down, there is something font.
Terminal. Here we go. Terminal sounds about right. Okay, folks, that should be a little bit easier to follow. Yeah. Let us know if you can actually see that. So yeah, just a quick question here from WLZA, which is, yes, the infrastructure is provisioned completely by the CLI. And what it does in the background is actually creates CloudFormation templates and actually takes that and then deploys that using CloudFormation. You'll see this often with a lot of the different tools, given that CloudFormation is like the building block for infrastructure as code on AWS and in automation. And obviously, there's a lot of effort being put into it. So what we have over here is that I basically just went through the documentation to quickly set up the CLI. I chose to use Brew to install it, not because I particularly want Brew on this Linux instance, but because, like every good person, I didn't read past the documentation. I just went to the first line and then saw afterwards, oh, I can actually just manually install it. So let's just skip across that because, we all read the document till the end before to get to the point where it says this will delete your database. Right. So what do we have? We are going to say, cool.
Kubus, can you zoom in a bit? If you show the docs, just zoom in a bit so we can see it, because at least for me, it's a bit tiny. This is fine, but the docs are just a bit. No.
Sorry, let's do this. This will be able to go bigger. Bonkity bonk. Ooh.
Good. That looks fine.
Yeah, give me 1 second just so I don't lose my mouse. I run Synergy, which means it goes off the screen onto the third screen, which is why I'm looking like this, by the way, if anyone's wondering. Screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. So if you see the back of my head, I'm looking at something work that popped up. Cool. Okay. So basically, you can see here just the prerequisites for installing all of those fun things, and then we get to the fun part. So what I want to do today specifically is I did do a webinar on this, I want to say last year, but I haven't touched it since. And I don't want to look at the documentation too much because I want to poke at it and see how intuitive is this and does it make sense. So let's go ahead and say, what does Copilot give us when I just do help? Okay, gives me some info. Yeah, let's make this bigger. There we go. Now we can see. Cool. So this whole getting started, there's an init, documentation, sounds good. Commands for application, for environments, for service, for jobs, for tasks. This all sounds good. So let's quickly dig into this a little bit. What are these things?
May I just, before you continue, may I point out the most important feature of the CLI? It supports emojis. I mean,
yes.
You cannot talk about a 2020/2021 CLI that does not have emoji output. So thank you, Copilot team, for including emojis.
Let's get that with keyboards. Emoji rockets. There we go. We need to have this ready because we will definitely need this in some kind of name. So just for those who have not seen this before, you can actually name your resources in the AWS console and with the CLI and tools with emojis. Now that might sound like something super trivial, except if you're looking at a long list of things like 160, 200 instances, and you've got some kind of visual cue for what they are. Like, for example, I always use the little egg and frying pan or the pan and something, or something breakfast related for chef, because I used to have a chef server running in almost every environment I worked on. Use that. Then all of those different things. That was super, super useful.
Ian has a great point here. Can you do JSON with emojis as well if you do conditions and policies? But
ooh. That'll be that should be rough. But who knows? Might be possible.
Yep. Okay. Show us what you got.
Right. Yes. Okay, cool. So let's quickly just check into what these different things are over here, just so people know what the point is of these. Well, The first one is an application, so that's a collection of services. So we're probably going to be creating an application, and in there we'll start off with a single service. Now, a service is what you say, here's a container or a set of containers, run them as one unit. And if you think about a microservice architecture, you'll probably have a couple of different services. Then the next thing you tend to do is you want to have multiple environments, because it's not always a good idea just to, YOLO deploy directly to production, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
I commit directly to main, and that's how I work, right? Isn't that? But my code always works because it works on my laptop, right?
And when you push the main, you do it with a -F, just to make sure everybody gets the changes that you have, right?
Of course.
Cool. Then obviously the next part is that inside the application, like I mentioned, you'll have multiple services, so we are able to interact with them directly using the SVC or service subcommand and do things to them. We can create jobs that are triggered in some kind of thing, like with an event of something happening, and then also we can have a task which allows you to run something once off. So this is the one interesting thing with containers that not everybody always realizes when you're working with containers, is that a container doesn't have to be up and running the whole time. Let's say you've got some kind of batch job for, let's say, something like ETL, where you transfer some data somewhere or copy data from one point to another point. You can just create a container that does that and exits with a 0 status code at the end and runs the completion. You just fire that off into your cluster, let it run, complete, and then it's done. So that's basically the basics in terms of Copilot. Then we can see there's some bits around here around the pipeline and deploy, and we are going to get to those now. But first, what we want to do is we want to probably initialize our app. So let's go ahead and say Copilot. Sorry, my keyboard is just a little bit skewed. Give me 2 seconds. There we go. Copilot init. Let's see what happens.
Copilot.
Copilot. Yes. Copilot. We've got a new thing. Yes, I would like to name our application. What shall we name it? Beard Ops. Cool. Letter container. Oh, this is one of the fun things. Only lowercase. Oh. Let's fix that. Beard Ops.
I love the fact that I love the fact that it just didn't fail. It just lets you know that that's not good, and it continues. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's super useful. So now we're going to have to figure out what do we want to actually do. I'm not going to go for the first one because I see the 2 keywords there for your part, Darko, which is app runner. So let's pretend that's not there. Yes.
I'll close my eyes.
Yes, you didn't see that. Internet to ECS on Fargate, that sounds about right, because we want to just quickly deploy a web app, because most things tend to be internet facing when you build it. We've also got obviously a backend service or a scheduled job. So let's just go ahead and say, cool, let's do this. Cool. What do we want to name this one? Let's see if we can actually do this. Dev Beard Ops website. Let's see.
Ooh, let's try it. Nope.
Again.
Naming conventions. Keep it all that lowercase.
Yes. Did I ever tell you about the time when I was pair coding with someone and I worked on a database where the naming convention was BD and then an underscore the symbol and then the table name? And we had a new person join in the first time we pair coding, and I'm helping them with some SQL and say, okay, cool, just select blah, blah, blah from, and then BD underscore. And they actually typed out BD underscore just because they hadn't seen the database yet. Because some people name things like that. It's sometimes funny. Cool. So let's have a look here. Docker file do I want to use? It picks up that there is a Docker file in this directory. So, or at least it assumes there's going to be one, which as you can see over here is very complex. It took all of my skills to build this one. And we're going to say, cool, use that one. Port is port 80. Remember, with a container, you want to specify which port the traffic comes in on. And now that seems to be it. Let's see what happens. Actually, I know what happens, but I want to, build the tension.
So basically, this will now provision infrastructure, I guess, through CloudFormation, correct? And then now a question for you. Okay, so I understand you basically start here. I have a Docker file, and I don't even have an image yet, and I want to create a ECS cluster with all the load balancing things you need from running this application right here. Now, when you want to make changes to it, do you make changes with the Copilot CLI, or do you go ahead and just okay? So you don't have to actually know CloudFormation per se.
No. So that's the beauty of this, is it actually takes care of all of that for you by keeping you away from CloudFormation, keeping away from all the different component parts. It's just, this is a very opinionated way of actually spinning up infrastructure. Cool. So what it says now is that we've got a manifest file. Let's have a look over here. And we've got an ECR repository for the server. So let's actually do that quickly and just hop into the console, because I want to see what it created behind the hood. Let's wait for a second.
While you do that, I'm gonna answer a question from WLRZA, who states, this is quite black boxy at this point.
Yes.
You know, you have regions, config file, all those things. And yes, it starts out like that. The thing is, it's creating all of the things within your AWS account. So it's doing all of the, oh, Warren, hey, Warren, hi. So this is Warren. Basically, it creates all the things in your account. It creates a CloudFormation template. So you have the transparency to see what it does, but it is opinionated. That's the whole thing. It has opinions on how it should do things. Of course, the region, it configures based on your CLI, I presume, on your profile configured locally. But you can actually see the CloudFormation template that it's basically using to create all of the stuff. So,
yeah, definitely. And actually, want to have a look at here. Over here, you can see this is now the config file basically for our service that we just ran. We can see over here that it's got CPU and memory, how many of them we want, the build type, which is Docker file, etc. So what I now want to actually see is, because this would be interesting, given that I did not specify a region, and this is a very fresh, new Cloud9 environment. So I want to see actually what the defaults are here. So let's quickly dig in, because it said over here, ECR repository for the service website. Cool. So I was looking in North Virginia. It's not there. Let's quickly double check.
Zoom in, gentlemen.
Oh,
Mr. Kubis, can you zoom in?
There we go.
Okay.
Is that better?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm curious to see where it created, because I'm currently running in the Ireland region, so I would expect it to be over there.
Yeah. So when it comes to Cloud9, it picks up the local user and the local region by default.
Yes. So it's not here. So now this becomes super interesting. Now it means I need to go hunt a little bit. What would be your second guess for where it would be? Oregon? I know some services have moved away from using US East 1 as a default for this main reason, because everything is there and then it becomes a little bit difficult.
The default one should be, I think, Ohio is like the default one when you log in. So if you open up a new fresh account, it's Ohio. That's where it takes you. But yeah.
Let's see.
It's not there.
No. Okay. Okay. It could be that it said, okay, create the infrastructure that's that, ECR repository. Let's actually just go to the source of truth, which is CloudFormation, because this will be interesting. Yeah. In case you're wondering why we're doing this way, this is purely so you can also learn about the first-time user experience of all of these things. Let's look at our stacks. I wouldn't expect anything here. Let's go look at where were we? Boop, Ireland. I would expect something over here at least. Yeah. Okay. Let us see here. Infrastructure roles. Here we can see something. There's Copilot. Right. That's the instance that I created. Yeah. Well, Ian, I love your assumptions. They accept this is a Cloud9 instance without any hard-coded credentials, so it should be all wrong. But even if there was something, I'm not going to do that. Let's actually continue with this, because I get the feeling that it might have created all the things. Yeah.
Don't do this live on stream.
Yes. No. It's, trust me. So I think let's quickly just run through all of this and see what it actually pops out. Okay, cool. Here we go. EOS 1. So I think what happened there is that it created the CloudFormation template, got everything ready, but it hasn't deployed anything yet. So now let's get to the point where we actually see some goodies.
Okay, good.
Question from
Miriam AWS.
Yeah. So is this service available in every region at the moment? So Copilot itself is not a service. It's a command line utility. So you can run it with any of the regions that support all of the services that you need to use. So the caveat there being the usual, go look at the region, see what services are launched. If it's a very new region, like launched in the last month or two or 6 months or so, not everything is deployed yet, because as with all software, we don't just deploy all of our service in one go into a region. They come over time, because otherwise the lead up time is too long to get them ready. etc. So just have a look over there. So that shouldn't block you. So what I'm expecting over here now is that it's linking and deploying it. Cool. Another good question. What is the basic difference between app to container and Copilot? So Copilot just takes containers that you have defined with a Docker file or public images and uses that to create your infrastructure to actually run those containers. Where app to container is actually a utility that takes an existing app that you have that is not containerized. And that's the difference, is that it takes it, containerizes, and then helps you get that running on AWS by provisioning some infrastructure for it as well. So there's a lot of overlap in terms of creating infrastructure and running containers, but the biggest difference is Copilot doesn't containerize your app for you.
Correct. It assumes that you have a application that is a container already, or is supposed to be running in a container. All right. Yeah. So while we're waiting here, just kind of a midstream hello, hi for all the new people joining. Welcome to Dev Beard Ops, the Wednesday edition. Today the topic is about AWS Copilot. Is it AWS Copilot? Copilot CLI that helps to launch your containers to AWS. And later on, we're going to be looking at AWS App Runner, one of the new services that enables you to run containers on AWS. So that's the whole point of today. And currently, Cobus is working on launching his container-based application to ECS Fargate, through the power of the Copilot CLI. And now it's creating a repo and all the fun things that we need to have.
Yes. Which means we should actually be able to start seeing the infrastructure spinning up, because we're now actually, CloudFormation is now finally executing. That previous one was just generating the bits. Let's look over here. We should see something.
Also, feel free to ask us a question in the chat. As you can see, this is a very relaxed way of doing things. So feel free to send us a question in the chat. We'll hopefully answer it. Anything regarding AWS, the cloud, containers, open source, and a bunch of other things. So. And why are we bald? It's a fashion choice.
Oh, mine's simple. Lasers.
Lasers. That's a very awesome way why you're bald. So yeah.
Well, yeah. Cool. Let's quickly just check where we are with the running of it.
You scrolled up. I was scared all of a sudden on air. I'm like, what?
Okay. So like, oops.
But on the fact, so this is beautiful. So this is beautiful. I want the CloudFormation CLI to do this. I want the CloudFormation CLI to show me this. Why can't the CloudFormation CLI do this as well? Or even the CDK CLI? Because look at it. It shows all the things it's doing. Love that.
Yes.
Please, CloudFormation team, please do it.
Actually, it's not scrolling properly because I think I'm breaking it with the scrolling. Let's just go. Just ignore that. Let's see what happens here. It's going to go all the way down. What happened here? Oh, this is okay. I should have read up on this. Okay, so the reason this is likely happening is that when you spun up a Cloud9 environment, let's just get rid of that.
Your token expires after a while, right?
Yes, and it rotates it for you. So the one way you can get around that is by actually setting up credentials directly. And then you can do that. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to stop my screen share while Darko tells us a little bit about what App Runner is. So I can get, let's do that. There we go. So I can actually get this to work the way it's supposed to, well, the way that I want it to.
So while Cobus is doing that, I'm going to answer the question from Miriam here. Could you use Copilot in the same way as Terraform? Not exactly. In Terraform, just for you who don't know, Terraform is an infrastructure as code way to deploy any kind of infrastructure. Copilot is specifically aimed towards containers, and it uses CloudFormation as its infrastructure as code framework of choice. So it is not something you can just kind of use interchangeably as Terraform, and I would not advise that. This is very much opinionated to running containers, and that's all it can do. Of course, it uses CloudFormation, and you can technically expand it to do whatever you think you want, but it's specifically aimed to containers. So I wouldn't compare the two things here, right? Rohit. Oh, hey, Rohit. Hi, Rohit. Hi. Rohit is a good buddy of mine or colleague of mine from Berlin. What if I want to mention the database for my application? Now, this I think, Cobus, there's a way to kind of connect databases to your Copilot applications somehow, right? Within the configuration.
Yes.
Through the use of environment variables or something like that, right?
Yeah. So if you want to, let's see. In Copilot, because remember, it's only focused on the server side of things. So I would have to dig in, and I'm assuming you can modify the CloudFormation template, actually include and create a database for it. But I don't know offhand if you can just add it.
My opinion on this one, right? Maybe you would create a database outside of Copilot, right? Copilot focuses on the server side of things, the actual application layer. You can create your CloudFormation template separately to create your databases and your static content, and then use the connection strings as environment variables within your Copilot configuration manifest, which will then be picked up by containers so they can connect to your database. That would be my my suggestion here, because I don't like mixing static data environments with service environments like this, because, hey, if you're done with your Copilot containers, you can just remove them, but you may like to preserve your data. Okay.
Yes. Data is important, I've heard.
Data. I've heard so, yeah. People say data is money. So, are you going to bring your screen back again? Or do I need to keep on entertaining people?
No. We can just do that. I just want to make sure that I close the window where I pasted. Yes, I do want to close the terminal window. Can you imagine that? Let's do that. Boom. Okay, we're back now. I do, however, think that I broke this because I did an init again in the background quickly. I just want to wait for this to finish the delete of the test environment, because I do expect there to be naming overlaps potentially.
Okay.
Or we can just say YOLO. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, we can YOLO it. So. Cobus is redeploying it again. My hope is that it just kind of picks it up, that it already exists. So yeah, YOLO it. That's the best way to deploy. Just YOLO.
Well, that's actually the best way to learn, because guess what? If you don't know how things break, you can't avoid those pitfalls.
Okay, we see it break. Stack is currently delete in progress. That's why. So we need to wait for it to go away. Okay. So while it goes away, Kennel, hi, hey Kennel. How does this compare to AWS Proton? So I don't know. Proton is more for managing these things, right? Take this. And Proton is not specifically for containers, right? Proton can do any number of things.
It's focused with the containers in mind, or more like microservices mind, which tend to be container-based nowadays. The idea is that you, as the infrastructure team or platform team at a company, decides how does it look if we want to launch a Java service or a Ruby service or something like that. And then what you do is you go build the CloudFormation stacks and templates for those specific services, and then you also version them using Proton. And then from the developer team perspective, what they do is like they say, okay, cool, we want to get a Java app out and running. They go to Proton, they say, cool, grab the Java template, deploy it. It uses CloudFormation, deploys everything, and it's running. And then when the real power comes in, is that the platform team then figures out there's a better way, or they need to add some more infrastructure to that template that they built. They then go and update that original template they have in Proton. It gets a new version number, and then they can actually see, hey, listen, what's the version numbers and which service actually uses which one. And then they've got a choice. Either the service team can actually go and update to the latest template, or they can roll out the change from their side, because remember, it's all infrastructure as code managed by CloudFormation. So they can just roll these changes out. And this is something I would have loved like 3-4 years ago when I did a lot of consulting around this, where I had templates and I had to update them by hand across multiple service teams. And that's never fun.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks for clarifying that, Cobus. Shenril, next tricky question. How to choose between Beanstack and AppRunner? AppRunner is, and I'll get to that in a second if we have some time today. AppRunner gives you the ability to launch something very fast, right? You have a very, very opinionated way of doing things on AppRunner. It basically deals with all the defaults for you. You just provide it a container and it just does things, right? While when it comes to having Beanstalk, you actually provision EC2 instances. Even though it's done for you, you have a system in play that provisions, updates, and patches and deploys applications to your Beanstalk environments. It's still running within your account as an EC2 instance. You have a bit more control over it. When it comes to AppRunner, you just kind of YOLO it, right? You don't YOLO it, but you don't have to worry about anything besides your container, right? And there's a few other things you can kind of work on, but in general, it helps you create your applications running on containers on the cloud without you having to think about any sort of infrastructure. So that's kind of a reason. So if you have a container and you want to have it running on the cloud, App Runner is a great way to kind of just do that immediately. So yeah.
Red Hat guy. Short answer is you won't see all the comments and questions because we are currently actually streaming to 2, 4, 6, 7 different locations.
Yes.
What we basically do with our stream is like we make use of the main AWS channel. We also stream to Darko and my own personal Twitch channels, as well as YouTube channels, plus our shared YouTube channel, and I threw in Periscope just for fun. So if you want to know where to find us, just have a look here at
all over the place. Yeah. So there's all of the
bottom of the screen. Yeah, you'll see at the bottom of the screen as well as the top. The top right one is the more important one where all our videos end up living long term. We still haven't quite decided, do we want to keep the videos on our personal channels or not? It's more a case of just like, make it easy for people to find the content and be able to watch it and rewatch it if they want to. Cool. Okay, so this is starting to look a lot better. We got past that point where it was unhappy with the permission set that we had. Now, just quickly to dig into that a little bit, it is something with Cloud9 to do with when you do role switching and things like that. It normally kicks in because of the way the token and the credentials work to a default Cloud9 environment. The easy way to get around that is that you can either assign an IAM role directly to the instance, which is the better route, or you can just pop in key and secret pair with AWS configure or directly in the file.
When it comes to cloud, it's a time-based thing, right? So if your command don't execute, gotcha. So
it's a little bit more than that. It's time-based, and there's something I haven't dug into this, so please excuse me if this is wrong. But there's also to do with role switching, because I think you already switched into a role inside the Cloud9 environment. You can't then switch to another role through that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is something I'm loving. I'm loving this CloudFormation.
I'm loving this outfit as well. This whole checking how things go, and actually you can see especially on the biggest
screen, and actively showing how much seconds it's taken. Love that. Red Hat guy, welcome. We do. There's a lot of stuff on twitch.tv/AWS. A lot of official content, our content included as well. We do this every Wednesday. Hopefully, if there's no issues with scheduling, but we attempt to do this every Wednesday. So if you come every Wednesday at the same time, so it's 1 p.m. Central European time or whatever is the local time where you're at, we get to stream something like this. And this show is called Dev Beard Ops because, well, we like DevOps and we're both Dev Beards, but it's the beard on the inside that counts. So you don't have to have a beard to enjoy DevOps. We just happen to have some. Okay.
Let's refresh this. I should be able to see something over here. Let's see. What did I play with? This looks good. Let's just. There we go. There's the Dev Beers op. There's website sites. Okay, cool. So it created 2 of them. It'll be interesting to see what. Oh, okay. I changed the name. That's why. Oh wow. I was obviously very, very creative at one point here.
That's a production system, right?
It's got to be. It's where you get to the point where you start seeing Git commits of saying more stuff, fixed it, finally fixed it. No, really fix it this time. No, really, really, really fix it this time.
I'll give you an example while this is running. So I worked with a client a long time ago, way before AWS, and they had a DBA who was just running their database infrastructure, and he used to name databases in a very some name. .txt manner, but once he used like actual bad words in like in a database like the effing database and all the colorful language you can think of, and it was a financial institution, and they had an audit. They had an audit coming in from the central financial institution in that country, and like, how can I change a database name? I need to change the database name, and you cannot change the database name so easily. So, pro tip: if you're naming your things in production, make sure you can rename them later on. Prenoob.
Cool.
Is it easier to assign an elastic IP to an App Runner instance than it is to an ECS Fargate instance? Now, that question, I don't know if you can assign an elastic IP to No, you can't.
You can't assign it to Fargate. No.
No.
Because remember, Fargate is like the instance that it's running on is abstracted away from you. So you just say, here's a container or set of containers, CPU memory, please go run it, 5 copies, whatever. So there's no instance to attach the IP to. What you can do is, like, generally speaking, with ECS, you'll have your cluster and you'll have a load balancer in front of it, which is normally an application load balancer. Now, you can't assign elastic IPs to an application load balancer, but you can put a network load balancer in front of the application load balancer to do pass-through and assign static IPs to it. This is with the assumption that you want the incoming IPs. So when you do the lookup for your website name or service URL, that those IPs are static. If you are talking about having static IPs from requests originating within your application, that means you want to set up NAT gateways with elastic IPs so that when your application calls a third-party endpoint of some kind, it always has a static IP of one of the 3, depending on which, let's say, if you've got 3 availability zones configured.
Correct.
So it depends there on, are you talking about incoming, outgoing static IPs?
Correct. And if I understand, App Runner does not run in your VPC. There is no way to get. Oh, you can do that. Can you do? No, you can. You can do VPC endpoints for App Runner, but you cannot do, like, you cannot run App Runner within a VPC. So hence this thing kind of falls out of the water. You cannot do that in App Runner, and that's kind of the point. This is one of the ways you can do containers, and it's very opinionated, right? If you want to have something more complex or something more controllable, there's a slew of ways you can run containers on AWS right now. So that's kind of a thing. You cannot have a static IP for, and it's even with a load balancer in front, unless you have what is it called, a network load balancer, and then something like that, then you can have a static IP for a load balancer. Otherwise, it's not so easy, right?
Yeah. Quick other question there I said there from Red Hat Guy is that do we both work for AWS? And I can answer that very easily at the moment because I actually went into one of our offices yesterday. So here's my badge.
I haven't been in the office for a year. So.
No, yesterday was actually the first time. It's a friend of mine actually. He moved to Italy, so I just went to drop off his laptop because his timing just didn't work out. So I had to badge in quickly to go drop it off. And that's the first time I've been in the office since, I want to say 7 March last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. There's a question from Karthi Kayan. Yes. I have one question. It's completely off topic, but we welcome these kind of questions. How to take a backup of a client workspace user volume? So AWS Workspaces is the desktop in the cloud option or service on AWS, and there's a root volume where your operating system is, and there's a user volume, which is basically your second partition where all of the user data is. How to take a backup of it? I think there is no way to do it automatically. If I recall correctly, there's no way to kind of snapshot. You can snapshot root volumes, but you cannot snapshot user volumes. So I'm not really sure how can you do that on in any automated way, at least native automated way on AWS. So you would have to basically do it some sort of a manual way of copying data to somewhere else or keeping a backup using something else. So unfortunately, I don't have the correct answer for you, Karthi, right now. So apologies. And Cobus is in Cape Town, of course, sunny Cape Town, I guess. And Red Hat Guy used to work for AWS, I guess. Well, yeah. Hey, we miss you, I guess.
Yeah. Let me quickly look what's going on here. So basically what I'm doing now is I want to see what's happening because we see over here that it's failing. Now, there's a very high likelihood that this is failing because I didn't set up my Docker file correctly because I just said from, and I can't remember if I needed to specify the startup one. So let's quickly dig into this and see what's going up. We've got our test cluster in ECS. We've got one task over here. Let's just quickly see tasks. What have we got? This one is running. That actually looks good. Service, let's just double check over here. It says desired and pending tasks. It's in the running state. It might not have passed health checks yet. Let's just double check what is going on here. Let's look at this actual task. dig into it a little bit. So I just want to make this a little bit smaller now. Sorry if you can't read as well because we can't see over here.
The computer seems to be
up and
running apparently, right? Yeah.
It does look well. Let's go ahead and hit this and see what we got. Service is down. That means the health checks are failing.
Okay.
So where is EC2? Double check. Sorry, scroll up, not the wrong way.
This is live troubleshooting on stream, and this is what streams are made for. So
let's go through the target groups. There's a default. Let's just quickly see what's going on here.
Security groups. So, Warren, security groups shouldn't be the thing because it all creates it automatically for you. That should not be the case here, hopefully. But yeah, because especially 503, and this is launching on Fargate, right? So unless the load balancers can communicate with the Fargate, there should not be a problem. But hey, we don't know.
So what's happening over here is that it is unhealthy. Now, my gut feel tells me that this is because I didn't do the Docker file correctly. So let's just quickly do. This is going to go for a while. And if I break, let's actually see what happens if I say cancel this. It should just stop. CloudFormation is where the source of truth will be. The stack is up and running. Awesome. Great. So great way of doing this. Let's quickly say, let's revert to what we had. Is this. Okay. Now we need to figure out how to update with Copilot. So, because I'm 100% certain it's my Docker file that's broken at this point. Let's quickly double check. I guess the commands for the pipeline. Yeah, let's just see Copilot deploy what that does. It's probably okay. So here's what's happened now. With my starting and stopping, what's happening is I've now got two of these going. So what I actually need to do is that I need to get rid of that first one. So let's say Copilot service. I'm going to go with delete. And let's say website. See if that works. Okay. So it asks you which one. I'm going to delete the website one because we know that's the first one we created. That's broken. Let's see what happens now. I'll be curious because that might mean that we're deleting our default one now. And I'm very curious to see how this breaks then. Let's see. Because as I told you before, it's understanding how the things break that makes you good at being able to build things that don't break.
So the beauty of streams, when we do live streams, we don't plan this, right? And when it breaks, we can kind of discuss and why it's happening. So hence streams contain very simple demos. So now Pipeline update.
No pipeline manifest.
Okay, it's a recommended thing, so you don't have to do it. Because you don't have a pipeline created here. So if you do code deploy, Copilot deploy.
Okay, Copilot deploy. And also, just for those folks listening, wondering why we do this, is that it's not that we're lazy. It's the reason is we specifically want to go through the experience that our customers go through, so we can actually see where the pain points. Because one of the things we have from feedback is that if I show you a webinar where everything just works perfectly, as in just follow these steps, that's great. You now know the happy part. But then guess what? As you know, as a developer, things break the whole time, or you miss a step or something. And that's then where you go ahead and okay, that's how we fix it.
Okay. So
cool. Let's have a look here. What is happening now? I would expect this. Let's go here. We've got this service up and running. Yeah, it is busy doing some tasks, spinning some provisioning. Okay, so this will be a newer version. So let's quickly see if we can see the version. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so this is what I'd like to see. So the task definition, what happened is that we had the first task definition. If we open this up, we should be able to also see the, let's see over here, task definition, JSON, where's the image? Where is it? Here we go, image. And you can see here the hash over here is 3CF versus the newer version. If we go down here, which is not 3CF, that's the newer one. So if we go into ECR and we're going to refresh this, there we go, dev bit ops. Over here, we can see that there are two different versions, and we've now created the newer version. You can see this newer version which over here is 53 megs instead of the first one, which was 1.52 megs.
Yeah.
So this is the latest ones that we are deploying now. So let's quickly go check with Copilot. Desired in progress, active primary, revision.
I'm a fan of the
Still busy
CLI.
running.
I am a fan of the CLI.
Yeah, I love this. I want to figure out how to build this into my applications that I'm playing with. Yeah.
I love it. By the way, Warren, CloudFormation doesn't destroy all the residual service components. Hopefully, this does exactly that. So, and Denny here commented retention policies. Retention policies could be the case, but also some things like S3 buckets are not being deleted by CloudFormation intentionally, because if you contain data in them, you just can't delete them. Well, you shouldn't delete them automatically. So, but I understand the frustration.
I do get the feeling that I've broken it now because of the fact that we reinitialized the app and we deleted our first website one, which is the primary. So I'm assuming that would have been the entry point for our load balancer. Yeah. We can confirm that by going to the load balancer and looking at what the rules are for routing.
Yeah,
let's see over here, load balancer, listeners, view the rules. Dev beard ops targets, then forwarded to that target group, otherwise that one. Okay, so this is what's happening now. So remember, we created that website also with the same Docker file and was broken. So that target group doesn't have any containers at the moment, which we can see if we go over here. So this is the catch-all. So we can see over here that this one, open it up, targets, you can see 0 targets, 0, yeah. It is unhealthy. So let's take a look at this one over here, which is the non-default. Here we've got 1 total target, 1 healthy target. Now that sounds a little bit better, which means if we do this, it is going to fail, because guess what? There's nowhere to go. But if we go back to the rules over here, if it's the path of dev beard ops, here you go. Grab that. We pop that in there. And 404. Now we've got an empty page. Oh, I think I probably broke the Docker file again. Let's just double check. Yes. This is why live demos. Let's just quickly check. There, Nginx. What have we got in here? We've got a page that says some stuff with AWS CLI Vision version 2. But the difference here is now that we are hitting our web server. So I am going to...
It works! Right?
Yes, it works. So I feel we need to YOLO this. Let's see what happens if we quickly say, okay, now let's try that one again, because now we know at least where we're going to hit it and how to fix this. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the dev beard ops path needs to be different. See, Ian says here on chat. Yeah. So the entire path in the Docker file needs to be /dev beard ops. But okay, let's try to do the Docker files. It's not the infrastructure; it's the code. Okay, so
here we go. Okay, now we've got the 2. This is actually nice. You can see the different configurations if you want to change it and jump into them. So this one says load balance service. The path is this versus our main website, which is the path is /. So this is where we can go and change this and actually edit this. So for those wondering with microservices, this is super useful if you want to have different parts of your site actually run by different services. And this is kind of like why we want it.
By the way,
let's see how long this takes.
Cobus and myself are by no means any massive experts on containers and container on AWS. We can manage ourselves around them. We use containers in our past, but if you want to get amazing information by amazing developer advocates about containers on AWS, there's a lovely show called Containers from the Couch. It's available on YouTube and here live on Twitch. It's from our colleagues from the container developer advocacy team. So make sure to check it out. They do a lot of great shows on all things containers. So if you are not checking that out, make sure to do so.
Yes.
It's still a 404? Or has it updated?
I'm just waiting here for the Fargate to deploy. Where are we? Over here? Not this one, not this one.
Denny, the workshop for Copilot. I don't think there's a workshop for Copilot. There is a general ECS, there's an ECS workshop that you can kind of check out. If you go, actually, let me find you the link for that, because that's just great. ECS workshop.
Another thing that I didn't look at, which I would love to see, is I'm fairly certain. Let's get rid of that. Is we should have a pipeline over here. Okay, no, that's not here.
Oh, because you didn't even deploy a pipeline. Yeah, so you didn't deploy a pipeline at all. You have to, I think, do it manually. Through the CLI.
Here we go. Clusters. Let's double check that one. We've got this service. Let's see, is it up and running? Desired one currently running. Tasks. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is the fun part with where it hides all of this magic deployment for you. Where when it brings up the new service while the old one is running, waits for the new one to become healthy, and then only shuts down the old one. So if we take a look at our target groups over here, this is 1.129. We should see something different now. Yes. Okay. So you can see over here that old one is running. This new one is still marked as unhealthy. So my gut feel tells me that there's something wrong with that container in the way that it's we're using it, and this will just give us it'll keep giving us that 404 because of that reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great comment by Ricardo. There's if you go in the GitHub IO Copilot CLI, there's a bunch of community guides you can also check out when it comes to Copilot. But yes, we've managed to demonstrate how to not build things. Well, actually, we've demonstrated how to properly build things, but the problem is actually the demo here doesn't work, right? So the Nyancat demo here doesn't work. As you can see here, there's a bunch of...
but that might explain it. Let's zoom in so everybody can see where the problem could be from.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
It's 6 years ago. It's a little bit old. I just grabbed the first one. So what I'll do is we should probably grab a more recent one. Let's see if we can find something. Docker...
So, I have it running on my account, so if you want to check out what Cobus was trying to do, I would prepare the demo for the app runner thing, which we're going to have to skip today. But if you want to see what's that, it's here on the... You can check it out there. It's basically the same thing Cobus was trying to run on that. That's the one I've used. That's the one I use, Cobus. So
okay, that is great to know because now, thank you. Like that, cool. Let's do that. Deploy again. Okay. This will take a minute too. But basically, the point now is like when you look at what I've been doing here today is what did I do here? Okay, it's busy deploying. It's in that loop now where it waits for it to fail before it actually then stops deploying, and then finally you're going to deploy. But the whole point of Copilot, like you saw here today, is that I didn't go into the console to click and launch things. I didn't have to set up CloudFormation to provision infrastructure. I didn't have to figure out how do I set up a CI/CD pipeline for this or anything. I just said, well, here we go. Let's use Copilot and get things up and running. So that's kind of like the point behind Copilot, is to get you going quickly and also give you a interface to manage changes to the cluster without having to fiddle with CloudFormation templates or things like that. Just issue these commands like, I want to do this. I want to change the service. I want to set up a pipeline. I'm sure if we did Copilot's pipeline, it will ask us to set one up. There we go.
Correct.
Yeah, and it'll probably ask us for a GitHub repo. Let's do the test. Here we go. You can see over here it asks us for a repo. You can add one or you can use a different one. Boom. There we've got now the...
Yeah, what's wonderful about this, it actually takes a lot of the heavy lifting away from setting up a proper container or microservices architecture, but using just Copilot CLI. It's wonderful. To be honest, this is the first time I've seen it in action like this, and I love it. I am definitely going to play with this. So if you are looking to deploy your applications to a Fargate system, or even this thing, App Runner, which we didn't get to mention too much, you can use, instead of using the command line, the ECS command line or the web interface or CloudFormation or CDK or whatever you like, you can actually use the command line utility here, the what is it called? The Copilot CLI to do this. A lovely open source tool that helps you provision your microservices architecture to whatever platform exists on AWS with a lot of bells and whistles, including pipelines and a bunch of other things. So yeah, what is it doing now?
This is beautiful. I'm sorry. This is
it's creating a pipeline. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Copilot made me redundant for what I used to do for folks, which is to help them set up the AWS CLI, pipelines, build pipelines, deployment pipelines, clusters, and all of that. You can now do it with a couple of fixes. You can see over here.
So does this mean DevOps is canceled? It's done?
DevOps is canceled. We're now living with no ops.
Okay, no ops. So no more DevOps, folks. We're canceling the show. There's no more DevOps. Copilot does it all. So there's always.
Let's check over here.
There's always.
There DevOps. We go. Boom. And this is what we were expecting to see.
No ops here.
Yeah. So you can see over here. So here did a whole thing. It'll check out this source code. It'll actually do a build, deploy to test. It failed with this. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, okay, it's not an available state. That makes sense, because I actually revoked my GitHub token on this account that I was playing with. They changed the new format, and I haven't come back to it yet.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, it's wonderful that it creates all this pipeline for you, the entire CI process. You don't have to worry about it too much. With that being said, we have to end the show.
Yes.
We don't want to overstep times, because that's not nice. So thank you everybody very much for joining us. We didn't get to cover App Runner today, so make sure to join us next week. Well, next week we're going to be talking about something else, but join us next week for some EFS and Lambda magic. Persistent storage on Lambdas, what? See you all next week at the same time, same place, and thank you very much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Yes, thanks. Bye.